Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about Best Ever Cold by Abercrombie, and this book took me ages to finish and I even don't understand why. I think it's because it was a very dense writing. So since English is not my native language, that might have took me some time more to adjust my brain to his writing. But this book was amazing. I'll tell you in advance that I gave it 5 stars. I loved Abercrombie. I already read the Sea trilogy, I read the First Law trilogy, and now I'm starting this one. That is a new series or trilogy, I don't know, set on the world of the First Law. So this book, Best Ever Cold, is the first one after everything that happened in the First Law. And here we are going to follow Monza. We already started the book with Monza and Benna. They are siblings, and we watch them going to talk with Duke of the place they live, that I don't remember the name. There was a lot of names in this book that I couldn't remember them all, so I'm sorry. I tried to focus more on the name of the characters. There were already a lot, so having to remember also the name of the places was quite difficult to me, so I'm sorry. But they are going to talk with this Duke because they work for him basically as mercenaries. Monza is the leader of a mercenary group, a very important mercenary league on that place, on that region. So they are very famous, and who is the leader of them? It's basically like it's like being a king of mercenaries. So Monza is really important, and he works for the Duke. So she works for the Duke. So they are going there, talk with the Duke, and when they arrive in the Duke's office, they start to talk, but suddenly Monza noticed that something is off, and when she realized they are already trying to kill her and her brother, and they succeed. Well, at least with Benna. They kill Benna, and they attacked Monza and threw her out of the window, but she ends up surviving. And the book would be her seek revenge for her brother's murder. And what's interesting about this book, in my opinion, is that we get out of the scope of the epic scope of battles between kingdoms and even magic creatures, as we see on the First Law. And we go to a story focused solely on personal revenge and power struggle. He took completely secondary characters of the first trilogy, and he showed us how interesting and huge their stories can be, and how many things happen outside the main plot. And I love an epic story, okay, I love an epic fantasy, but I also love these little stories, the power struggle, the one trying to kill the other just because of a position that is not that simple. But comparing with, for example, like comparing to a royal position, being a duke or even the chief of this mercenary group is not that much. But at the same time, they are also really important, because though little fights between those groups impacts the entire kingdom economically, territorially, politically, and we realize that those groups, those institutions, they are the ones that really get the power on those places. So it's really interesting. It's like the story, like the king rules, but if he doesn't have that group of nobles who does the dirty things for him, who doesn't scheme, who doesn't kill people, who doesn't make alliance for him. The will of the king worth nothing. And about the characters, I love them all. They are so special, so special. I love them all. I'm fascinated about them. Really, I think building characters are the best thing about the writing of Joe Abercrombie. He really knows how to build a character. He does it so well that he doesn't need anything else to build a plot for the book, you know, because if you think about it, yes, there are some little fights, some battles, but we are basically there for 600 pages, I think, even more than 600 pages, just learning about the life of these people. And the life of these people is enough to get our attention for more than 600 pages. And I think that's incredible. The story even surprised me sometimes throughout the book, because every time that I thought it was going into a direction, he changed the direction completely. And I was like, oh, I was not expecting for that. And I tried to predict some things, didn't work. But the ending was very satisfying for me. I think it was well deserved. It was well deserved after all. Very complex, but well deserved. And I think it's complex because right at the beginning, I think, because the first thing that we see is basically the death of Benna and the murder attempt of Monza. So we basically buy their side of the story, you know, like she's seeking for revenge, and we agree with that revenge because what they did to them, like the state of Monza after the murder attempt was like, nobody knows how she survived, okay? It was basically impossible that she survived, but she survived. So like she deserves it, and she lost her brother, so she deserves it. But throughout the book, we see that the author tried to deconstruct all the image that we got from her from the first pages, and we start to realize that, and he does that, I think basically in every book he writes, that if not 100%, at least 90% or 96%, 97% of the characters of the books that Joe Abercrombie writes are morally gray characters, okay? There's no good, there's no bad. They are just there, trying to survive in this cruel world in the best way they can. And sometimes they do bad things because of that. Most of the times they do bad things because of that. And that brought me to a place that at the middle of the book, or even at 60% more or less, I was like, I don't know if I want her to get her revenge anymore. I don't like her anymore in the way that I used to like. Even though I think she's really interesting as a character, but like, you know, that light of her was fading, and we start to see for real who Monza is and who Benna was. And I mean, it's kind of obvious because they are mercenaries, so they are already bad for themselves, just for the sake of it. But at the same time, you know, and that happens a lot when we read. Like, we know that these people are bad, but we are reading their story and we get connected with them, so we kind of like them. But then we remember that they are bad, so we start to think that maybe they deserve what they are getting, you know. And this is really nice about books in general, and I think Joe Abercrombie does that really well. And that's it. If you like a good fantasy with a lot of intrigue, please read Best Ever Coded. Please read actually every book of Joe Abercrombie. I am really sad. I'm really, really sad that his books are not published in Brazil. I mean, some are, but it's very difficult to find them. I think they are, I don't know, they are not selling as much anymore. And it's really sad because I don't see anybody talking about Joe Abercrombie in Brazil. And I need to talk about with someone about him because he's amazing. And I don't know. I don't know what to do. And I guess I'll have to keep reading his books in English, which is not a problem. But yeah, I wish he would be more famous in my country. I wish him to be famous. I think that's a nice thing, right? So yeah, I see you in a next video that will be about Onyx Storm. Just wait for it. Will come soon. Bye bye.